thrilled and honored to be talking with the CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission and Visit KC, Kathy Nelson, who is also the 2025 Kansas Cityan of the Year. A well-deserved honor. You worked very hard for it.
Quite the surprise as well. I had no idea. I was very shocked that night.
Obviously, we're here to talk about the upcoming World Cup. And we were talking to the mayor the other day, and you can't even remotely put it into words how big of a deal this is for Kansas City.
That's exactly right. When we were awarded the World Cup, we spent hours, days in rooms with whiteboards with Cliff Illig. And there were 5 of us. And Cliff would write the word big on a whiteboard. And he would say, explain the word big to me. What is big? People don't understand how big this is. We literally would think through, how do you explain the enormity of what is the World Cup and what is that on Kansas City? So we've struggled with, I've been to World Cups. I was in Doha for a couple weeks for the World Cup. And you're right. It's the enormity. It's the bigness. It's this unbelievable thing that's about to happen to our city. And the other thing is, it's the biggest event in the world. And now it's the biggest event ever because of 48 countries coming in.
You mentioned being in the room with Cliff Illig, the owner, or I guess former owner now of Sporting Kansas City. I don't know how that all shakes out with the news that they sold. Who else is in that room? And how do you get what are people like Cliff Illig, and Mark Donovan, I imagine the Chiefs are on board. How do you get these power brokers in the city who all have individual agendas pushing in the same direction? Because it's very difficult in a group project setting, even in smaller settings, to get everyone going in the same direction.
Passion. For them, this is the biggest passion project they've ever worked on. It's a vision, it's a dream for them, and it will lift their business, of course. But for Cliff, he knows the impact this will have on Kansas City. He feels the impact. It'll be very rewarding for the sport of soccer in the United States and for Kansas City. So he's so passionate about it, as is Clark Hunt. It's actually not that hard to get them in a room because they're ready and excited to talk about it. So our small group sessions would be Cliff and 1 or 2 others from Sporting, Jake Reed, the president of the Sporting KC Club, and then myself and a couple others, and really and this was well before we had hired a staff. We'd created a board of directors. We're like, what just happened, and how do we work through this?
When does your work start with that group? Because I imagine it wasn't just overnight we put this group together. I imagine they announced the World Cup as the three countries, Mexico, United States, Canada. When do you start getting the group together? And then when that group comes together, how do you make Kansas City a reality? Because it is the smallest of all the cities hosting matches.
Yeah. Well, we've been meeting since 2016.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like we just started meeting once
2 World Cups ago at that point.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, we've worked on this since 2015, really started to brainstorm together, work together, think about what this could mean for our city and the enormity of the bid process to get us to that next phase and to the next cut. We've been meeting for 10 years.
I remember thinking when talk started, however many years ago, it became publicly known that Kansas City was going to try to get World Cup matches here. And I love this town more than anybody in this city. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, good luck. It's a relatively small market when you think about it.
Right.
And I thought, there are big people in this town with big aspirations, but this is never going to happen. And I remember.
Thanks.
No. But I think this speaks. What I'm saying is this is a compliment hidden behind what I'm saying. I remember sitting in the airport in Jamaica, listening online to the announcement, and Kansas City, I think, was the first American city mentioned, and then Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, immediately followed. Regardless, how is it that Kansas City was able to do what Chicago couldn't do, and all these other major markets across the country? There had to be something in the mix that you guys offered that FIFA said, we love it.
It came down to relationships. It came down to passion, to the heart of Kansas City. We had a lot of global leaders that had never been to Kansas City before. And so as we went through that bid process, we not only had to get them to trust us, but we had to show the city. They've been to Miami, they've been to New York, they've been to LA. We had to show them what we were about and that we were capable of this. So if you think about 2017, the bid being submitted, and then 2018, we're going through the next bid phase, and we got to compete against our U.S. cities and make the next cut and make the next cut to 16 before we get to the cut of 11. We had to rise above, and it was flying to New York whenever we heard somebody was going to be in New York or Miami or wherever, flying there to make sure they remembered us and that there was a relationship formed. So I think that's one of the secret sauce items. You know, you can't take for granted the Power and Light District, the whole downtown core now, but then the venues on top of that, when you mix in Arrowhead and Sporting KC, and now what the KC Current has done, all of that comes into that puzzle. And then the owners jumped right in. Even John Sherman, the owner of the Royals, was involved in our bid.
Is that right? When FIFA comes to town, take us behind the scenes for a moment.
Yeah.
When FIFA officials come to town, who's involved locally? I'm sure you are. Presumably the mayor, Cliff Illig, and others. Where do you take them? What do you show them to show off this city?
So one example I'll give you, which is one of my favorite that happened in the 10 years. They came in for our final site visit. It was our last chance to spend time with them in person. And when they came into Kansas City, they actually extended their stay just a little bit. So they were going to all of 16 cities. You know, they'd land in the morning, they'd see your city. Sometimes they'd fly out that night or fly out the next morning. We actually had them for 2 nights, 2.5 days. And we were the only city that did that. So we thought, okay, they like us. They feel comfortable with us and spending that kind of time. So they flew in, they stayed at Lowe's. We fly them in, of course, to the airport. And it's all about hospitality, showcasing that we can take care of dignitaries. And Sporting was so clever, making sure when they landed at the airport, which remember, this was the old airport at the time.
Oh, they flew into the old airport.
Yes, the old airport.
Not a great start.
Right, you're like,
Don't let them use the restrooms. Right, a lot of toilet paper back
but
there.
we did work with the airport, and they were great to work with, and making sure that every step from the time they got off the plane, there was an experience. So
What do you mean?
So Cliff made sure that he had people, Sporting KC staff. We share the story now. We would have never shared it before. They may have been in soccer jerseys and things, just happened to be walking around the airport like they were either coming in from a flight or getting on a flight. So that when FIFA landed, they're like, wow, look how much Kansas City loves soccer. You know, they're thinking just our people are there and they happen to be wearing soccer jerseys or something about the sport, or we had them in heart shirts, you know, the KC heart shirts.
Yeah.
So it was oh my gosh, this community really gets it. Because
And they were pretending to be passengers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Just people at KCI hanging out.
And you know, back then at the old airport, you could walk into the airport before you go through security.
Yeah.
So we kind of flooded the airport.
You have them walking through the concourse with luggage and everything?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
the experience from the minute that plane landed to when they got off the plane, Cliff is all about experience and a memory. And that's what we did. So from the time they got off the airport to seeing something they may not have expected. And we always say we're the unexpected surprise for a city when people come in to see us. And that was the whole day, 2.5 days with them was an unexpected surprise. So we knew the exact path. We had practiced it and rehearsed it, the exact path of transportation from the airport to the Lowe's Hotel. We may have had a few pop-up kid soccer matches along the route. So they're like, well, look at the community.
No kidding.
You guys really gamed this up.
Yes. I mean, it was extremely rehearsed and practiced. We made sure they drove a certain route so they could see billboards about we want the World Cup. And I mean, we had it all planned. And I think we don't take that for granted.
What about like at the hotel or on the streets? Did you have...
Well, think about where that. I don't know if
there-
you've seen the giant billboard downtown that went up. The
90
sporting
foot.
bit, yeah, that said, "We want the cup." That went up. I'm starting to think now. You can see
see
that
it?
from the Lowe's. I'm
Yes.
doing the math in my head.
And maybe all of their rooms at the Lowe's face that direction.
What are the odds?
Oh, funny.
How weird.
What a just a terrible coincidence.
I never even thought about that billboard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we
That was
made
on purpose.
sure everybody's room faced that billboard. Absolutely. And then, you know, as you come
This is
out
why you're smarter than we are. This is brilliant.
between Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts and municipal, or not municipal, our convention center, the Grand Ballroom, there's a grass open space there. So as they pulled into Lowe's, there was just happened to be a
Well,
pickup
soccer match.
happening right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was the first person, and it may have been you, who said in 2015, 2016, let's go for this?
It was a mix, Cliff and Clark for sure. And then being pulled into that of, what do you think? We need help pulling the bid together, and it'll take more than just sporting and more than just the Chiefs and Arrowhead events to pull this off. And that's where our area of expertise comes in as a sports commission, and Visit KC is pulling that information and bid together and making it look beautiful. So there were days where at midnight our staff was still sitting in the conference room, and we would have the Sporting KC creative team on the phone with us, and we would email things back and forth and go, okay, you create this page, we'll create this page. And then we'd flip it and have the other read it and check for errors and then flip the pages back. I mean, there were days, if not weeks, where we would pull 18-hour days putting it together.
I'm curious, when did it become a reality for you? Because you're more in it than most anyone, that I can think
Probably
of.
anyone.
Yeah. You've been on this process for 10 years. At the 10-year mark when you start, I imagine almost every city in America is like, ooh, we'd like that. But as time goes on, other cities start falling off, and Kansas City stays in the process. And you are more aware of this than anyone. When did it go from, this is a fun idea, let's work really hard to get it, to suddenly, oh, there is a legitimate chance we are a city and not just a city competing anymore?
I guess I am such a believer in our city and know that we have the best people to make it happen. I never didn't think that.
Interesting.
You always thought Kansas City was going to get it.
I always thought we had a chance. Up until the announcement day, which people don't believe us, we had no idea. We had no idea of that day when they were announcing if we would be awarded matches. We thought because of our venues, at a minimum, we'd get base camps. So I knew we would be in it. Once we got to that cut down list of from 70 to 50 to 32 to 16, once we got to 16, I knew we'd play a role somehow, but it was, what would that role be? But I never doubted we'd have a place in this.
So you're not the first person to say that you didn't know at the announcement date, which at the time of the announcement, just my brain was like, well, Kathy Nelson's there, the mayor's there, Clark Hunt's at Power and Light. Like there's dignitary to dignitary. They know they're not having a party. So that elation we saw on all the news stations and all the things, that's a legitimate, we didn't know. We could have been having an embarrassing moment of all of us at a party that was not a party. That it was literally just, so in that moment, what goes through your head when you're at Power and Light? I don't know if you're on the stage or in the backstage.
Upstairs,
okay, up at no other pub, I presume. Is when they say Kansas City, what goes through your brain? Is it, oh my God, we did it? Or is it, oh my God, we have so much more work to do now?
No, it was certainly, oh my gosh, we did it. We won. And to your question, like people are like, why would you throw a party if you didn't know? I am a huge believer in my staff. Both of my staffs know this. We celebrate our losses as much as we celebrate our victories. The amount of work to get us to that day was so much. I mean, any bid we work on, the amount of work to get us there just means someone else gets to decide win or lose. It doesn't mean we didn't cross the finish line. We crossed the finish line. And we had bid on, I'll give you an example. We bid on Women's Final Four years ago. And I was on a trip with the chamber, 150 Kansas City leaders in a room. And we watched it live because we were all together in a different city. And I'm like, I'm sure we're getting Women's Final Four. They'd be silly not to pick us. We weren't chosen. And everyone's like, you're on stage watching this with 149 other leaders from Kansas City. I'm like, we're all in this together. And sometimes I might need a hug as much as I need a high five, right? Like, I feel like all that work should be rewarded.
What is more work, Kathy? Getting the World Cup or preparing for the World Cup?
Well, I'm in an interesting seat now because we have an entire staff. Pam Kramer, our CEO, and a staff of 25 plus are working on it. So my role right now is the tourism side. So for me personally, the work was getting the World Cup. I'm sure come summertime, I'll be extremely busy again. But right now I'm traveling internationally, traveling to the countries that are coming here to play and making sure their tourism operators know how to book Kansas City and know about us, because Miami doesn't need to go do that. But for us, it's getting over, working on direct flights, helping the airport to work through that, working with the operators to make sure they know hotel properties and how to book Kansas City and what there is to do around Kansas City. So my work right now is I'm on a plane every week somewhere. So for me, the work was leading up to the award.
You mentioned base camps, and they're critically important. Cities that don't even have games scheduled for them are becoming base camps.
Yes.
I think from an optical point of view, having the game, and especially when Argentina plays and Lionel Messi and hundreds of millions of people will be watching and seeing Kansas City. But financially speaking, the base camps is really where the money's at, is it not?
Not necessarily where the money is, but is certainly lucrative. So
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal to be awarded a base camp. Huge deal. Wake Forest has Germany, right? Germany has selected Wake Forest. They've done their deal. They
It's
are
like
basing.
I'm heading to North Carolina.
Yes. So that's where the Germans will go and celebrate, and they'll do celebrations, right? And that's normally what happens is when a country or a team picks a base camp location, that means all their media come with them, all of their operations people, and they live in your city, and they'll fly out to the matches, but they come home to their base, which also means a lot of times 5,000, 10,000, 40,000 of their fans will be based where their team is based. So it's extremely lucrative because they're negotiating with that venue for their training facility. That facility becomes their home, as does the hotel that's assigned to them. Their family comes and lives, whether it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, the duration of the tournament. So they're spending their money right in the heart of where their base camp is.
I'm fascinated by the bid process, and maybe it's just me, but I get to co-host, so I get to make the decisions on if it's interesting or not. Is the bid process for matches versus being a host city different? Like when you're meeting with FIFA in the lead up to try to get the World Cup, are you meeting with FIFA, on Tuesday, it's here's why Arrowhead should host a match. And then on Wednesday, you're meeting like, here's why Kansas City should host a team. Is it two different processes or to kind of tie into one big bid?
Two different processes. When we were awarded matches, we hadn't been awarded base camps. So base camps is a separate thing. It's called the brochure, and FIFA required 72 base camps in the brochure. So think about it, there's only 11 U.S. host cities, 16 total across North America, but 72 base camp potentials for 48 countries. Not all of these cities that are hosting matches will even have a base camp, which is why there are so many cities that aren't hosting matches that are reaping the reward of our work, which is great. We love to hear that, right? Wichita has a potential base camp. I mean, all of these cities, it became a different process. To your question, became a different process. It was we need to be included in the brochure. You need to be part of the opportunity. But they were looking for so many, knowing that not all of those would be picked. And we're going through that process now.
As you're going through that process, do you think it helps that you got to host matches and it's part of you've already kind of built what you're selling to FIFA once? You can try to turn around and I don't say resell it, but hey, we know you like blank about our city.
Yes.
You still probably like blank about our city.
That was one of our huge positives for our bid was they always say we're a mecca of opportunities for venues here. So when we have both a women's and a men's stadium and both a women's and a men's training facility, the CPKC and Sporting, both of those stadiums are training facilities, not even base camps. So they're like, there's this mecca of opportunity right here in the middle of it where we're a 3-hour flight from any of the other host cities. All of a sudden, we rise to the top of opportunity.
I'll probably ask this of many of the guests that we're going to have on this podcast. And I asked the mayor about this not too long ago. Every time Dana and I, and I'm sure you and Carrington, when we talk about the World Cup coming to Kansas City, and like I said earlier in this interview, I can't even put into words what this means for this city. But invariably, we will get somebody on the text line who says, quit talking about soccer. Who cares? Nobody cares about the World Cup. Nobody cares about the World Cup. What do you say to that naysayer?
So you do not need to be a sports fan to be able to understand and feel the positive outcome from this and what could be the legacy. We're working through transportation and transportation from the airport to the downtown corridor maybe that stays after the World Cup. So who cares if you're a soccer fan, but maybe we've created an opportunity for you now. The other thing is I always think about like Johnny's at Power and Light District, the servers that are in there, and they're all of a sudden going to see 35 days of activity that may not happen without this. They're getting their tips, they're getting paid, the hotel front desk workers, all of that elevates all of them, whether it's soccer or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is there's going to be an economic impact to our city that's unlike anything we have ever seen in my lifetime, in your lifetime, and that we should celebrate our city right now. So if you don't go out to a match or you don't go explore Fan Fest, that's perfectly fine. Just remember, there's nothing like this that will ever have an impact to our city again like this.
To those naysayers, what do you tell them to expect in June and July? Because I'm going to try to go to matches. I assume Scott's going to try to go to matches.
Try my best.
We are big soccer fans. I'm planning on going down to Fan Fest and, being a part of this as much as I can because I love soccer. And obviously I love the impact of the city. But for a naysayer who doesn't like soccer and that text line person who's saying, well, I don't care, I don't get it, what can that person expect in June and July? Because I think as we get closer, that naysayer gets more and more worried about, well, if there's 500, 600, 700,000 people coming through Kansas City, I can't live my regular life anymore. To that naysayer, other than the economic impact in Kansas City, what can they expect in June and July in town? And how do you convince them maybe that, hey, your life's actually better because these people are in town?
Yeah, I think one thing is our focus, not only Pam, our CEO, and the staff, but also our board of directors, and then, of course, Visit KC and the Sports Commission are so hyper-focused on making sure that everyone can still get to work, everyone is still doing their day-to-day normal activity. But over those 5 weeks, it elevates our city unlike anything we've ever seen, and there'll be so many things to do, so many opportunities. This is not a comparison, but I think sometimes about, it's like restaurant week. If you don't care about restaurant week, that's fine, but you're missing an opportunity to go try a new restaurant, to go try a new flavor, a different type of food you wouldn't have thought of before. This is an opportunity to maybe go meet someone from Argentina or the Netherlands that you have no idea, and all of a sudden you now have become there's a global opportunity here that you won't have again, whether it's a business to business or a person to person, greeting somebody, meeting someone, showing them our Kansas City heart, that I wouldn't miss out. And it makes me sad every once in a while I hear someone say, well, I'm putting my house up for rent and I'm leaving for 5 weeks. I'm like, you're going to miss party of a lifetime. I would never do that.
I'm going to clip that and give it to my wife. She might be one of the naysayers specifically.
Don't miss out. You can, and I always laugh too, because I feel like people say, oh, like the 1985 World Series, oh, I was there. I'm like, yeah, people forever, I think, will always say I was there.
You have to be the hardest working person. And I didn't realize that the planning and the prep started a decade ago. And so this is probably not consumed your every day and every thought, but you have to be the hardest working person in Kansas City. Where are you and your husband going on vacation in late July? You need a break.
I know. We have talked about that. It's a weird time for us. Well, we have a daughter that just got married, another daughter getting married in May. So 2 weddings.
In May?
Yeah.
As if your summer wasn't busy enough.
I know, May 2nd.
Did you try to get her to move it to August? Or?
Oh, I tried to get her to move it to 2027. Yeah. But she works for the WNBA, so we're working around that schedule and all kinds of things. So it's interesting. The World Cup has opened so many doors. We will be busier come July and August and into the fall. And on top of that, 2026, if you take out FIFA Men's World Cup, 2026 is a complicated, busy year for both of my teams because we have bids due for Women's World Cup, Rugby World Cup is due this year, NCAA bid cycle opens up, and then you put the icing on the cake right now, and the final 4 bids are due in December.
Oh, boy.
So we've never had a bid stack like that ever before. We spent Tuesday all day working through how do we handle these types of bids when one bid alone drains the entire staff? How do we handle these massive bids? So 26, there's probably not a vacation just yet in there.
Well, I hope for your sake there is.
I know.
You mentioned it a little bit there. How much of the big goal, the overarching view here is to take the success of the World Cup in 26 and parlay it into more and more events? Because obviously Kansas City's never had a thing this big, but is there now hopes of we nail this and you do try to get a Final Four, a Women's World Cup, maybe a Super Bowl? There's a new stadium coming to town one day that is going to be domed, and you can have a Super Bowl. Is the hope you parlay this into even more successes and events in Kansas City?
Oh, absolutely. Everything we do is the opportunity to host something. I mean, I think about the Royals World Series parade. That picture has won us so much business from 2015. I mean, we led our World Cup bid with that picture from the Royals World Series parade. It was 72 and sunny. Every day it's nice. We say we have parade weather going on. But that picture that we were all there, that has led our bids for so many different things to showcase that our city knows how to show up. Our city can do big things. We can host, 1 million people somewhere. So every opportunity, the NFL draft was an opportunity. We brought FIFA in for the NFL draft so they could stay with us and watch us work. Because if the NFL trusts us to do big things, FIFA can trust us to do big things. So they spent 2 days with us during the NFL draft, the FIFA executives did, and just tagged along with us and watched everything we do. So everything we do is the opportunity to do something. I don't know if there's anything bigger, but the opportunity to do something big.
We're visiting with Kathy Nelson, the CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission and Visit KC. What keeps you up at night as we approach the World Cup?
Oh, that question is so interesting because it's not necessarily the planning of the event. We've got experts around the table that are doing that. I think when I stress at night, it's, is our staff okay? Are they okay? Like, how do I give the staff a break and show them how much I need them, respect them, and adore them? Because everyone's working so hard. We're now on 6 days a week, and it'll be that way through at least July. So how do we reward and honor them, the people that you don't know their names but are getting all this work done? That keeps me up at night. A lot of them are young. We took our sports commission staff out to dinner last night and had them bring their families in the room full of kids. I'm like, how are we making sure that they get to spend time with their family when this is the busiest thing we'll ever do? So that keeps me up at night. And then, as I mentioned, all these bids, I have no idea how we're going to pull that all off, which is great. But when you think about, okay, Arrowhead is moving. So where am I going to host Women's World Cup? That keeps me up at night. How does that work? Am I going to host at the current Arrowhead? Does it go to the new building that's not even on paper yet? So our bid is due. What do I submit with? So last night I woke up middle of the night and I think I wrote down at least 13, maybe 14 names of people I need to call today to say, I need this. I need this. Who's answering this? Who's covering this? And then who pays for all this? That keeps me up at night.
Financially, can you even put this into terms, what this means for this city?
I mean, we can. We have research tools and research experts on staff that does. So right now, very conservatively, we ran the numbers with not only FIFA's research team, but our research team, and working through what we thought we would have as 4 matches, et cetera. It's about $653 million of direct economic spend in the market.
And that's just from the 4 matches you ran, or did you include the round of 32 quarterfinal match?
So it was 4 matches and 2 base camps and a few others. So we know that's a conservative number. We will redo that number.
Up.
Yeah, it'll more than likely go up. And that's where, again, these massive conventions we bring to town and other events, like when the Chiefs play in an AFC Championship game at home, nothing compares to this.
You mentioned the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and you mentioned earlier that you've been to World Cup matches. I believe it was in Qatar, you said.
Yes.
For a fan in town who is a sports fan, and they're listening right now, what is the difference between attending a World Cup match versus a domestic event, say the AFC title game? Because I would imagine if you're Jerry and Gladstone, you're thinking, man, I saw the Chiefs beat the Bengals. I can't imagine anything bigger. I went to Game 7 of the World Series. I can't imagine anything bigger. You're one of someone who's seen a World Cup match. Can you explain to them just the enormity of a match versus something they probably have seen in town multiple times?
Yeah. Sport is the sport of soccer, football, is global. No comparison to American football. I love my Chiefs, right? I try to go as many games as possible. But when you're in different country and you see people from every walk of life and they just want to be there. I attended the Euros in Germany, and to see.
I'm jealous of all this, by the way. Sorry.
But remember, I'm working. It's not like I'm
Yeah,
there.
real tough gig watching the World Cup.
on.
Sit up here and just
Not
watch a
like
game.
Yeah, I guess Christian's down there playing or whatever.
You guys. Fine. But when you see those international fans and the passion, the biggest difference I have noticed to every international soccer game I've ever attended, and most of them are big games, no one leaves their seat ever. There's no such thing as a concession line because they sell concessions, but there's nobody in line. As soon as that match starts, nobody leaves their seat.
That's right.
And then maybe at halftime they get up and stretch, nobody leaves their seat. And no one leaves early. They're not worried about where their car's parked, nothing. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And the fandom and the energy and the passion. And yeah, of course, it's Red Friday in Kansas City, and that's a huge deal to us. It's nothing like a World Cup game.
Rob and I are soccer nerds, and I remember sitting in this room with him, watching that TV right there as they were announcing which cities are getting which teams and which matches, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to look too far into the future, but we crunched the numbers. I think you know where I'm going. There is a strong possibility that Kansas City will be the stage when Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi meet, and one of them is playing their last international game.
Correct.
And that's huge.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking hundreds of millions of viewers with the spotlight on Kansas City. We're talking about billions.
Billions of viewers. That's exactly
Two of the
right.
three greatest players of all time
Yes.
on the field at Arrowhead Stadium. And it's very possible.
Yes. It'll be called Kansas City Stadium, so don't be
Yeah,
upset.
you're right. You're right.
It'll be
Kansas City Stadium. Yes.
But that's right. And that's where I think if you're not a sports fan, to even understand and appreciate the global impact from that 2-hour match in Kansas City, we will reap the benefits for decades to come. People will always say, Kansas City, that's where those two players were.
You know, I remember being in when Lionel Messi played here with Miami.
Yeah.
And we went to that game at
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead Stadium.
That one is
soon to be
Arrowhead.
Kansas City Stadium.
Yes.
But I left for Mexico the next morning.
Oh,
And I'm going up to get some sodas at the bar at the resort we were staying at. And the bartender and a customer were having a debate about who's the greatest soccer player, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. And 12 hours prior, I was watching Lionel Messi. I had long thought that Ronaldo was the greatest player ever until I went to that game and saw Lionel Messi play. And I remember they're having this debate about who's the greatest player of all time. And I looked and I said, I can tell you because I saw him last night. And they looked at me and they go, well, who is it? And I go, Lionel Messi. He's the greatest. And I remember the customer, not the bartender, but the customer says, and where did one see Lionel Messi last night? And I said, Kansas City. He goes, Lionel Messi played in Kansas City. I said, last night. And I saw him, and he's the greatest. I mean, you can't, if that game ends up happening, that match ends up happening,
right.
that may be one of the biggest soccer matches of all time.
There'll be books written about it. There's no doubt. Yeah. It's kind of like me when I go, I'm over in England quite a bit for business, and I have traveled to Richmond and maybe have walked into the pub in Richmond with a picture of myself and Jason Sudeikis, and people are like, what? I'm like, oh, yeah, he's my friend. So it's a big deal.
That pub really exists?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
I
whole
didn't know
thing
that.
really exists in Richmond. Absolutely. You can go walk down the street. You sit on the bench where they sit, the phone booths.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Maybe not as big as Messi, but it is a big deal when I walk in with my picture with Jason Sudeikis into the pub in Richmond.
I know we're running out of time. I just have one more question. You talk about the impact in the books being written about that potential Messi Ronaldo match. We'll always say Kansas City Stadium. We've talked about the economic impact. What will be the bigger lasting, maybe not bigger, lasting impact in Kansas City that people are talking about in 10 years? Do you think it's, hey, the city made $600 million, or is it going to be, wow, can you believe X, Y, and Z? Is it more branding or more finances, or is it just both, which will be the lasting impact people think about this event in Kansas City 10, 15 years from now?
Yeah, that's funny you ask. We actually talk about that often in the office of in 2030, what are we saying? What happens 4 years after? In 2040, what are we saying? I think it's that we're hosting more unique events like this. You know, these don't come around very often, but we'll probably have a few more of these in their future.
Well, based on your schedule, it might be a lot based on what you said.
Yeah, could be. We'll see. But I also think we'll see more international business. And when I say that, it's more international companies that will have an understanding and awareness of Kansas City and maybe locating business here. I think we'll see a melting pot of people that want to come in and vacation here. I think in 10 years down the road, there'll be other opportunities to grow the airport, international gates. I mean, there's no guarantee that we would get a direct international anytime soon from this, but just to know that people know how easy we are to get to, I really do think we'll feel a change a little bit in what Kansas City is.
Kathy Nelson, the CEO of Visit KC and the Kansas City Sports Commission, we wish you nothing but success, and thank you for taking just a brief moment of your time to spend with us.
Thank you.
Great to see you.